All right, what up, Snaps? So, we're doing a special Q&A this morning, and we're broadcasting it to Facebook. All right, what up, Snaps? So, ask me some questions. You can ask John Ham, Klaus back there, and we'll answer. All right, first question from Juliet. Do you still have any power at Twitch? Easy answer, none at all. I'm just a fan. All right, question from Will. When is it okay for founders to take a cut of their investment money? Well, that's what your investors are investing for. You want to be able to pay yourself enough that it's not distracting how little you make. The goal is basically to pay yourself as little as you can, but remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Your investors would rather you work full-time on your company than have a side job to support yourself. Someone just asked me, which programming languages are the best to know? Personally, first I learned with JavaScript and then Ruby and Python. I mean, I think like you want to become a good enough programmer that you could pick up new languages, but I really think Ruby and Python personally were good to start with. But you should also bear in mind, I'm not the greatest programmer. I'm just a mediocre programmer. Are you looking for new investments? At YC, always. Just, you should apply. All right, should you make something people want or something people need? The original YC motto was actually gonna be make something people need, but people can need something and not actually want it. Like freedom. So we decided to make something people want. Because implicit in make something people want is they're gonna use it or buy it off of you. Another question, are you an investor in Snapchat? And what should Snapchat's goal be? I'm not an investor in Snapchat, unfortunately. I want to be. And from a goals perspective, I think they still should just focus on growth. There's a lot of headroom in growth. Why are you so addicted to biking? That's a good question. The truth is, I had this bike for 8 months, and I only used it 2 to 3 times in that time period. And I actually started using Snapchat and doing these Q&As as a way to distract myself because I hate cardio. And actually, I built up this positive reinforcement cycle. Now I like biking because I get to like spend time on Snapchat. So Snapchat is actually making me healthier. Snaps, here's what my Facebook Live camera rig looks like. Set up by Tiger. How can you hire a first employee without funding? Or should they be considered a co-founder? If they're working primarily for equity, then they should be considered a co-founder, and that's usually how you get people on the team before you have any money. Otherwise, you've got to pay them, maybe you're earning. Have you ever thought about coming back to UPrep and giving a talk to inspire the kids? I've thought about it. Haven't really been invited yet. At what point do you know if your ideas are pursuable? All right, so like any founding of a company requires an act of faith on your part to believe a future that doesn't exist yet. So you're gonna have to take it on faith at some point. Now, what you think, is a good idea is actually a good idea, and just go for it. Highest yield thing you can do to prepare for a YC interview. Know your numbers and know what the barriers are to prevent you from growing. How do we reduce employee turnover at our startup? How do we keep people motivated? But you gotta crack the whip harder until morale improves. Just kidding, don't do that. Don't do that. I think the key is to be authentic in your communication and honest, and tell people what the goals are. People want a clear path to success. It's when they don't know what to do, and that's when they become unmotivated. If you're a SaaS company bringing in 10K monthly recurring revenue, is that a good time to raise a seed round? Yes. Do entrepreneurs starting their businesses out of college or during college have a major disadvantage? Yes, there's disadvantages and advantages to starting your business right out of college. So disadvantages, you don't know jack shit. Also, you probably don't have any real problems. And it's hard to build anything for industry. You probably don't know how to do sales. You've probably never built any production applications, so you don't know anything about scaling something or building something that's like release worthy. That being said, you have one major advantage, which is you don't know what you can't do. And that is pretty powerful. Do you think new grads should start out at a small startup or at a big company? All right, well, there's advantages to both. I think you can learn a lot as a new grad at both a small startup and a big company. But if you stay at the big company for too long, you'll forget how to do things outside of a gigantic process, and you'll forget how to be free and think for yourself. I've seen a lot of people who work at big companies for 10 years, they don't even know how to do jack shit outside of a big company anymore. Don't let that become you. At a small startup, you're probably gonna have to deal with really shitty management, but you're probably gonna get thrown in the deep end and have to learn a ton. So prepare for psychological abuse, but the opportunity for fast advancement if it works, and to learn a lot in the case when it works or it doesn't work. What's the best way to market your company / brand? That depends where your audience is. You know, like if your audience is on Facebook, maybe you want to do a Facebook live stream while you're exercise biking. Seriously, basically you want to look for an untapped channel that's like a channel that other people aren't exploiting that reaches your target demographic. And no, I don't have one for you, because if I did, I'd probably be exploiting the shit out of it right now. Question, is Tiger working out while he's reading out questions? Nope. How do you know when something's not working versus you should stick with it and grind it out? I think it's pretty hard to know if you should have stuck with something instead of giving up. I don't know, it changes for every case. The one piece of advice that I can give you is that I think it's good to set goals for what you think success looks like before you start, and then you won't give up if you're. When we started spinning Twitch out of Justin TV, we set a goal of 15% monthly growth every month for the first 6 months, and said if we hit that, we're not going to give up. And lo and behold, we did. And even though we weren't that confident in gaming, you know, it gave us the confidence to keep going. Would I recommend getting loans to go to coding boot camp? Look, coding boot camps are like $12,000. A year of school is like $50,000. I think that I would get loans for coding boot camp because the ROI is. I mean, that's assuming you want to be a programmer though. Don't just go to coding boot camp just because it's something to do. Good question. When should you drop out of a good school to work at Google or join a startup? Well, first, I think it's two different answers. Going to Google is extremely safe because they never fire anyone. Also, it's easy to go back to school. You can always go back to school. I think people overweight the risk actually for, dropping out. You can always go back to school. I thought about getting Klaus a friend. He's got a friend right here. This is John Hamm. Look at his face. He looks scared. How do I stay in the US as a Canadian founder? Look, you gotta get a TN, an O1, or an H1B. When you pitch to investors, should you show optimistic or realistic numbers? First of all, don't lie about your numbers. That's called fraud. Second of all your projections in the future, investors know those are bullshit and you made that shit up. But just be realistic about what you can do. Other people, if they're putting unrealistic numbers, people know those are fake. Do I think that modern day college has any value outside of becoming a doctor or lawyer? Yeah, definitely. College is a great place to chill while you figure out what you want to do, and to make friends with people who can eventually become the co-founders of your company. Also, honestly, it's a great place to become socialized to the semi-real world, meet other people, learn how to relate to them. Also, I became a much better writer in college, which is a pretty critically important skill to learn how to write well. Look, I encourage people to consider dropping out if they want to, because that's them making their own choice, not because I think college is worthless. And you always want to make your own choice.
What up, Snaps? So we're here in Santa Cruz at the beach. Check it out. It's pretty dope.